4, 3, 2, 1.
Whether you've been married 1 or 20 plus years, at some point you realize you married into crazy. And that's what our show is all about. If your marriage or relationship is compassionate, real, accountable, zealous and yielding, or just plain crazy, Snooks and Lovey offer love, laughter, and a dose of reality as they unpack this thing called marriage. Sit back, relax, and get your ear hustle on. It's time to start the conversation.
Welcome back to another episode of the Married into Crazy podcast with Snooks and Lovey.
I'm Snooks.
And I'm Lovey. And we're a couple that's been married for 28 plus years. Mm-hmm. If you've never listened to the podcast, and even if for those of you that have been coming back year after year, let's give a little bit of a recap. Mm-hmm. We met on a blind date. We met on a blind date.
It wasn't a date. It was a blind setup.
It was bamboozled. Let's just call it what it was.
Yeah, that's what it was.
We were tricked into meeting each other.
There you go.
And she immediately fell in love with all of this.
I didn't.
Okay, it might have been, my memory's going away, so maybe I fell in love with her immediately.
He did.
And she's a slow learner. I had to, she had to catch up to speed 8 days later.
8 days later. I mean, that's almost immediate in times.
And female time, yeah. So she was catching up to the guy.
Wow. Okay.
And 4 months later, we were engaged. Mm-hmm. After she told everybody that I was a nerd and not her type.
I did say that to my family and my friends.
So for all you nerds out there, self-professed nerds, we got game. Just give it a little space. You'll win that dame.
You keep wearing her down.
It only takes 4 months. But we got engaged. And 5 days after we got engaged, mm-hmm. I was stabbed through the heart with a serrated steak knife by
a jealous ex-boyfriend
of hers, not mine.
Oh yeah, not his.
Yeah, I didn't have an ex-boyfriend.
Yeah. So
she had this ex-boyfriend that was just absolutely out there and broke into the home, attacked her. I saved her like the knight in shining armor that I was at the time. Mm-hmm. Remember, at the time, I've learned my lesson since then.
He still
had
saves me.
2 open heart surgeries, mm-hmm. and we survived that. All that happened before we ever got a chance to say, I do.
Yep. That happened all before we got married. 7 months after that happened, or 8 months we got married. 4 years after we got married, I told him I wanted a divorce. While we were at dinner at Morton's Steakhouse, in between, what do you say? He likes to say the cream spinach and something.
And the baked potato.
We don't even eat cream spinach, but okay. So obviously we didn't, I don't want to say obvious, but we didn't break up. We were able to start over, start again.
Find our way through all of that madness. We did a lot of different things. We did coaching. We did counseling. I want to say we read books, but we bought books and they sat on the shelf.
I think I read a couple.
But bottom line was we went through a lot of different things and we decided that we needed to become the couple that we needed during that period. Mm-hmm. So after a lot of different counseling, and we actually went through a series of ups and downs, but we found our way through. And then we got a series of different certifications, extreme execution with Dr. Eric Thomas, as well as level 1, level 2, couples therapy training with the Gottman Institute. And we pour that into a lot of the couples that we work with. But more than that, we do this podcast and we bring you, she keeps trying to get in. I keep trying to keep talking so she can't speak.
Wow. He ain't lying. Anyway, I just wanted to say what Married into Crazy is. Basically, that's actually unbeknownst to us. That's really when Married into Crazy was formed. Back then when we were going through our trials. So CRAZY is an acronym and it stands for compassionate, real, accountable, zealous, and yielding. And those are attributes that everyone can have more of, should have more of in their marriages. So. And
I'm still working on yielding, so don't worry. I mean, even 28 plus years, you still work on a few things.
Yeah, he's still working on yielding.
But one of the things that we love to do, and the one thing that we won't yield in doing, is bringing you, all of you, subject matter experts, as well as other couples that can pour into your marriage mm-hmm. and help enrich you. And one of those people is absolutely exciting, and we brought her on to the show today.
So keeping with the theme of May being Sexual Awareness Education.
Sexual Education Awareness Month.
Okay, yeah. So we're gonna stay within that, and we have a wonderful, lovely lady grace us again. We'll tell you that story later. with her presence. Her name is Susan Bratton. She is the co-founder of both Personal Life Media and The 20. She's an authority in the bedroom techniques and communication skills, non-invasive treatments that improve vitality for both men and women, and a fervent advocate for lifelong passion. So that just fits the bill right there. Lifelong passion. Hi, Susan.
Hi. How you doing, Chuck? Hi, Lovey.
Hello.
So
Great to see you guys.
Yeah, right.
Long time no see.
Long time no see.
I know. Missed ya.
So I said bring her on again because we had initially interviewed Susan a couple weeks ago. Great interview. We found out some things about ourselves. And when Lovey was getting ready to put the podcast together, we could only hear Susan's responses. We couldn't hear ourselves. And I was like, wait, what's going on? And he's like, you got to be kidding me. I was like, what? I was just happy that I wasn't in charge of the podcast, so he couldn't blame me for it. So
it was fire. And we begged and begged and begged and apologized to her publicist and to Susan and begged her to come back on because she's
it happens. It happens. I'm sorry we lost your sex life bucket list, though, because that's what we went through. We did the sex life bucket list and found out what you guys wanted to have on your sex life bucket list for the next things you wanted to do. I can't remember, but do you remember any of them? Did you do anything since I've been gone? What's going on, you guys?
We've done one or two things since then, and I'm not sharing it with anybody. But I will say that
Come
one of the things that I want to do is make sure that we make that available. We want to direct people, because that was so much fun going through the bucket list, that we really want to make sure other people have the opportunity to do the same. And it's so worth it.
And honestly, when you think about bucket list, you think about bucket list for traveling, for how much money you want to save, whatever. I never thought about a sexual bucket list. So that was new to me. Like, oh, okay. So that's a strategy. I don't say a strategy, but that's something that you could tell our viewers about more, you know. They can get into that.
I want to say what my experience of doing that with you guys was. So it was, basically what I did was I asked Snooks and Lovey one by one, probably about 20 or 30 different, what I call erotic adventures, which are, if you think about your sex life and if you want to keep it going, if you look at an 80-year-old couple at the end of their life and their best friends who are 80-year-old couple, and one of them kept having hot sex and learning new things and having new experiences, and the other one had given up their sexuality and kind of thought, oh, we're too old for that. Those two look older. They're not as happy. They're picking at each other compared to the ones that are having great sex. And the thing is that with sex, if you just keep doing the same thing for 50 years, it gets a little boring. And so the idea of the sex life bucket list is, what else do you want to learn? Because all of sex is learned skills. So what do you want to learn next? So I took Snooks and Lovey through the sex life bucket list. And basically one by one, we talked about all these different fun erotic adventures. And what I loved about them was that, you were very easygoing with each other. There was no reactivity around anything. You had a calmness and a willingness to listen to whatever was going to come out of the other person's mouth. There wasn't any shame around any of the discussions. There was a lot of curiosity. There was a lot of like, oh yeah, we wanted to do that, or we did that once and we didn't do it again. Let's do it again. We forgot about it. Or, you know what? That's something that I've been interested in that I want to try. I would put that on my bucket list. I noticed there were some things that was like, well, it's not on my bucket list, but if you want to do it, I'm going to do it with you. I'm a hell yes. And I just thought it was one of the most graceful, mutually supportive conversations about something that regularly couples can really struggle with. And I really, if there was one word that summed it up for me in interacting with the two of you, it was grace. And the other one was like a willingness and open-heartedness. And I can tell you guys have a good sex life. And I can also tell, and I remember you telling me actually that recently it's been getting better. Like, this is what happens with couples. We go down, we come back up. We go down, we come back up. Everything is always a bit of a, roller coaster in marriages where sometimes things are really hard and you get through them, like you guys have done so many times. Good couples, this is what we do. We go, oh shit, this is one of those hard times. All right, here we go. Let's hunker down. I think I even told you guys, my husband and I have like a little hashtag for our relationship, how we call ourselves Team Sweetie. Where we like feel like we're in it together. And I really felt that way doing the bucket list with you. So for your listeners and viewers, it's at sexlifebucketlist.com. It's a free download that has a checklist of 48 erotic playdates. And I give you a 40-minute video where I walk you through them. And it's your first erotic playdate. You get to make your bucket list together. I take you through the process. And that's kind of what we did in our 1.0 trial run of Married into Crazy with Susan Bratton.
Right? And it was a lot of fun. And I want to say that when, going through that,
how was it for you?
There was a lot of discovery. I mean,
that's discovery. Mm-hmm.
And again, to your point, there were some things that, okay, we knew about each other. There were also some things like, oh, I didn't know she was interested in that. Okay, I'm game. We also discovered there were some things we were both like, nah, that's not on my list.
Yeah, exactly.
But we were okay with it. And I think that one of the things that you touched upon that I'd like you to get into again is about how important communication is when it comes to intimacy within a relationship. Because I feel like that is crucial to have that type of conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so nice to be in a relationship with my husband because I can say anything to him and he's so non-reactive and grounded. Oh, God, is it nice to live with that man. And he doesn't take things personally. Mm-hmm. He doesn't take anything as a failure on his part. Like if I, one of the things I think we were talking about was how, especially women, but everyone, sometimes we're very turned on and ready to go. And other times we're like stressed out and we just need to be held and calmed down and gotten into our bodies. And we need to get things off our chest and we need to reconnect. And, if people thought about their lovemaking not as this kind of discrete thing, it's like, we're having sex now. It's like, no, how about if we have like some foot rubs and a bong rip and turn on some tunes and talk about our day and, just snuggle together. And I think a lot more couples would have sex if they didn't look at it they'd have it more often if they didn't look at it so transactionally. Mm. And if they didn't look at it as like this certain thing that they do. And I honestly think, for most couples, it's generally more the woman who wants to control what it's like. And she kind of has this well-worn path to the way that she orgasms. And so she wants that exact path. I've just noticed that working over decades with literally, I have talked to 100,000 people if I've talked to one. Mm-hmm. And you see patterns in the conversations. And that's because women don't know, people don't understand that orgasms, that we talked about the 20 kinds of orgasms a lot on that first conversation, that people don't understand that all orgasms are learned skills. Everything about sex is a learned skill. Yeah, we can make a baby without much knowledge. That kind of works out. But sex, good sex especially, it takes understanding having a lot of knowledge and experience and willingness to try things. But the firmament is that bedroom communication. And it's very difficult because the thing I hear the most is, I don't know what I want. I just know what I'm getting isn't it. From women especially. Or I don't want to ask for this thing that I want because I don't think my partner would be open to it. Or if I give them any feedback at all, especially a woman to a man, the man collapses emotionally. He checks out. He feels like he failed, like he screwed up. Because men, the work of Dr. Terry Real is so interesting. I don't know if you've had him on your show. He's a really good guy. You should invite him on sometime. He talks a lot about how men grow up in a pecking order where you're either the winner or the loser, where women are more oriented toward team and community work and collaboration. And so for men, if they get any feedback, they take it as failure and they think they've gone down in the pecking order. And it's very hard for some guys to take any kind of feedback in any location, but especially the bedroom. And so then women just kind of like suffer in silence, put up with it and try to get it over with. And then men end up hating getting mercy sex, but they ultimately created that because either they were born in a repressed or shameful environment, they had trauma, and it could be either person, right? It could be both could have been in, purity culture or repression, or they could have been shamed or abused or traumatized. Our sexuality and our culture is very traumatizing. And so if there's anything that makes them feel uncomfortable and then they get some feedback and then they collapse, it's like, oof, there's no way to get out of the starting gate. So one of the things that I left you with last time, which I'll just throw out here in the beginning, is the sexual soulmate pact. It's an agreement. And I actually learned it from one of my mentors, Dr. Patty Taylor, who was a part of the Moore University expanded orgasm, deliberate orgasm community sex cult. And it was the way that they trained their partners to do this expanded orgasm stroking practice. And they had to have communication feedback loops so that they could get the right touch, pressure, sensation for the stroking, the pleasuring of the stroking. So they got really good at refining how to know what you want and ask for it, and really good at receiving the request and acknowledging the request and appreciating the request and encouraging requests. And so the Sexual Soulmate Pact is really my spin on the work of a lineage of people who really knew how to communicate their desire, their needs, their sensations, what their body wanted in the moment together in a non-reactive way, in a structured communication. And you guys, I mean, you're Gottman trained, structured communication in relationship like anybody's business. And so the structured communication of bedroom, conversation is a really nice, learnable, easy skill. I give that away at Sexual Soulmate Pact, PACT.com. And that I feel like start there. People are like, I want to learn how to be really good in bed. I'm like, this is where you start. You don't start with genital anatomy. You don't start with orgasm skills. You don't start with sex position. You start with communication. It's the foundation. And as my friend Dr. Emily Moore says, it's lubrication.
It's a lubrication.
That's good. It's funny too that that you even bring that up when just discussing about women specifically, because we just came back. Well, last month we were at a marriage conference, and the women broke off and the men broke off, but a lot of the talk in the women's group was about sex,
Good.
And I wish you were on before then, because I could have told them, go here.
What were they saying? Like, what were the top things that you noticed about the conversation?
There were some questions, some talked about how things are different, with age. Some of them are older women. Things are different. They're not working the same way. They're not as the libido is either, and it fluctuated. Sometimes their libido was higher than the man's, or the man's was higher than the women's, and just trying to find that sync to where they can really communicate with sex how they wanted it, and that was another big thing, feeling free, to be able to talk about what they wanted and how they wanted it, and we're not feeling so shamed, because like you said, we don't really grow up saying, okay, well, now this is what you say in the bedroom, where you tell them exactly what you want. I mean, my mom told me to speak my mind about everything, but she never told me to speak my mind about sex. That's not a talk that we had. So,
well, it's unfortunate, but many women aren't taught to have that conversation out loud.
Yeah.
Nobody is.
Especially not in families. Now, girlfriends get together and they have their talk.
Different.
But what's sad is that guys don't get together. If we do, it's more bravado. It's locker room discussions. And a lot of times it's exaggerated. It's over embellished about accomplishments, or I don't even call it accomplishments, conquests more than anything else. And even then, I'd say that, if we were all Pinocchio, we'd be walking out of that locker room, with our noses, probably 20 feet longer than when we walked in. And I think that getting back to the root of the conversation needs to be, if we could have open, honest conversations about how to have better mindset conversations with our spouses, that would open up so many doors when it comes to having better sex, fulfilling sex.
Well, I feel like too, men have to, I'm picking on the men right now, but it's like you have to be mature enough to understand, because I don't like something doesn't mean that you're a bad lover. I just don't like that thing, so don't take it personal.
Well, and the other thing is that I honestly, what I've found over the years, now I'm in my 60s and I'm having the best sex of my life. And I've really been practicing expanding my sexual playing field for the last 2 decades. It's what got me into what I do. And I'm not a therapist or a coach or anything like that. I don't work with people one-on-one. What I do is I write passionate love-making techniques, bedroom communication skills, and I write a lot about the intimate wellness treatments and things you can do to keep your genitals working your whole life long for ageless sexuality, so that you can extend your sex span, which extends your health span. So it's kind of like health and hot sex. And I think the thing that is interesting is that what I've realized is things that I didn't used to like. And I think we noticed this on the Sex Life Bucket List as well. I think we talked about that, where things that maybe I tried a long time ago and I was like, I'm not sure that's for me. Now I'm really enjoying that thing, because when you try something new sexually, and I mean, there's 48 erotic play dates on the bucket list. So there's a lot of things that you can learn and try and have experiences of. And you may not want to try everything, but someday you could look at that thing that wasn't of interest to you and go, wow, I really want to try that now. Or, I tried that a long time ago. I'm ready to try it again. I'm trying it now. I've done it a few times and I'm getting really good at it. And I see why people like it. Oh, this is what they're talking about. Sex isn't easy. You don't just do it and then it instantly works the first time at the level of pleasure that it's going to work at the third or fourth time. So you have to be willing to go into the bedroom and try things and fumble through and not be perfect and make some mistakes. And like my husband has a thing where sometimes he'll be like, I don't like that. What is that? And he'll be like, I'm just trying something. Like, so great. What a great response. I'm just trying something. I'm like, cool, don't do that anymore. And I love that dynamic where it's like, you're just trying something, honey. Like, it's just such a nice dynamic, because especially men, they put so much pressure on themselves to be perfect and do everything right. Again, it goes back to that thing Terry talks about, the pecking order. They don't want to be wrong. That's a failure. And men hate failure. So they don't take risks. They don't put themselves out there. They let her stay in her, one path to orgasm groove, and they're miserable about it. And, it's just like, it's not a growth mindset. And if there's anything that I've learned about my interactions with you two, it's that you guys are growth mindset people. You're probably learning and pushing yourself every day. Like, I would imagine that every day you are growing. You just seem like that to me. But the people who aren't like that, or don't bring that into the bedroom, they just get stuck in these ruts, and then it's so boring that they just don't want to even do it anymore. It feels like a heavy lift.
It's pretty amazing. So how, in a condensed version, because I thought the way that you got to where you are now was so interesting. Can you share how you got to where you are? Like, what made you really decide to become an intimacy advisor to millions? Because you're known all over the world.
Yeah. I've been very lucky that there aren't very many people who do what I do. Most people are therapists solving problems, and I'm like the opportunist. I'm like, let me just tell you how to have some hot sex. And this is the interesting thing about it, is that the human operating system is very much a consistent experience. It's like my MacBook Pro and your MacBook Pro basically work the same way. I could work your MacBook Pro if I had your logins. I could work your MacBook Pro. That's how bodies are. We're not wildly different. We have different levels of sensory ability, which are also able to be amplified. Like the more you touch parts of your genitals that feel numb or painful or shameful, you can transform that into pleasure with loving touch. So your body can get to parity with other people who are having great sex, even if you haven't. And so giving you the steps to do it is really helpful. But for me to get to giving you the steps to have hot sex, I had to have a lot of hot sex. Now, I was willing to do that for you guys because I'm just a damn nice person.
I mean, okay, so I believe in the law of averages. Wouldn't you also say that you had to have a lot of bad sex along the way as well?
I had enough bad sex, and that was what got it all started. 12 years into my marriage, I think I told you I had 2 martinis on my 11th wedding anniversary, and said to my husband, what the hell are we doing here? Like, I'm 2 martinis is too much for me. I should never have 2 martinis. It's just a bad idea. But I was like, what's going on with us? This is not good. He had checked out emotionally. I didn't want to sleep with him anymore. We were just, we were friends, but we weren't lovers. And really, it all just stemmed from the fact that we didn't know what the hell we were doing. Nobody knows what they're doing. That wasn't us. That's everybody. Because, like you said, there's no place you can get a sex education. Your parents didn't know. They can't tell you. You don't even want to hear it from them anyway.
Right.
It's not their job. Like, forgive them. Let that shit go. It's your job to learn what to do, because it's not provided in a formal education, but it's a part of your personal development. Sexuality is in the subset of personal growth. And so when you realize, oh shit, you mean if I learn some stuff, I can get good at it? That's what happened for us. We said, we need to fix our marriage. We're not getting divorced. This is no good. We're going the wrong direction here. We need to save this sinking ship. So we went to therapy and we worked on some issues. But what really helped us was going to sex workshops, of all the things. Well, there were a couple things. One was just starting to tell the truth to each other. We had a friend who worked with Brad Blanton, the author of Radical Honesty, and he taught the radical honesty relational skills, and we learned those. And that was difficult because it is so endemic to our culture to lie, to withhold, to walk on eggshells, to stuff it. These are our coping mechanisms for some societal bullshit that carries over into our homes, and we don't tell each other the truth. And we had to unwind all of that cultural learning to begin to actually think about what was true for us, not what we were supposed to do or someone told us to do. And this was good too, because we were in our early 40s. This was 20 years ago. And so it was during a time, as you know, your 40s. In your 30s, you get really judgy and you start to really individuate. And not that you don't start that in your teens, you do, but by the time you're in your 30s and you're really individuating, by the time you're in your 40s, you become much more mature. And so you can begin to actually assess what it is that you want, not what you've been told you want. And so for us, being able to be radically honest when we were going through this really tough time. Well, and the reason it was tough was that I was giving my husband mercy sex. I know all about mercy sex. I'm a champion at mercy sex. Like, okay, just do it from behind and get it over with or whatever, like it was just terrible because I wasn't orgasming from intercourse. And I thought there was something wrong with me. He thought there was something wrong with me. There was not a damn thing wrong with me. I'm a massively multi-orgasmic being, and I continue to be even more orgasmic. We just didn't know what the hell we were doing because who tells you? Nobody tells you how to have intercourse. Like nobody. I do. That's why I ended up getting into teaching people the steps to the operating system to have mutually pleasurable orgasmic ecstasy. Hello. So we ended up going to these sex workshops. We learned the skills. We came back and went, oh my God, we're having the most incredible sex. We had a renaissance of our relationship and we said, we have to tell everybody about this. This is amazing. So we started publishing the work of the mentors who helped us rekindle this relationship and make it super hot. And then over the years, as I was teaching their work and I was learning and I was trying things and experimenting and writing more. And now I have written 34 books and programs full of hot sex techniques. And I feel very good about myself when I say that because that's some damn fine work in this lifetime.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
And much needed.
I think I'm a national treasure at this point.
And I think those that have read your books probably think the exact same
Right.
thing.
Exactly.
I'm well loved.
Some of your books to our library.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'll give you everything.
Definitely.
That we won't forget.
Okay, so books are one thing. And I know that
And videos.
as we're
and
aging,
all
as we're
those.
getting older, I mean, we want to maintain our vitality.
Yeah.
Because you talked about, which I thought was a really cool phrase that you used. You talked about lifespan, but you also talked about sex span. Yeah. So in order to have a sex span to match your health span or lifespan, and when you think about vitality, I remember looking in the back of comic books when I was a kid, or some of the, even some of the fitness magazines, and they would have like Spanish Fly, buy Spanish Fly, it's aphrodisiac, to keep your libido, increase your libido, and how real is that? I mean, can you really? Is there such a thing as an aphrodisiac? Is it regular food? Is it herbs? Is there something I need to grow in my backyard?
Yeah, it's clams or something. I heard. Oh, not clams. Oysters. Oysters. Isn't it oysters?
Right,
Well,
so
there's clam day. There's clam day, Snooks. That's different. Yeah. Yeah, it's the real deal. We feel when we feel horny, when we're turned on to life. We like to feel horny. We like to feel sexy. We like to be satisfied. We like all of those things. They are wonderful, very pro-social emotions. And there are definitely botanicals that help with hormone release, neurotransmitter production, blood flow, kind of the mechanisms of action of turn on that really help a lot. And for, let's just say we have written documentation about going back about 5,000 years, but it's pretty easy to imagine that between 10 and 50,000 years that we've been on this planet as Homo sapiens, that we've been eating weeds that make us horny. So if you study the indigenous wisdom from around the world, they found the plant materials that turned them on. So like in Southeast Asia, they chewed a root called tongkat ali. in the Mediterranean, they picked this little puncture vine with yellow flowers on it called Tribulus terrestris and steeped it in a tea. In India, the world of Ayurveda used fenugreek as a hormone support and blood flow and desire, essentially a desire driver. And there are this in South America, maca, stamina, fortitude. You're ready, you want it. That's an interesting one. And then around the equator, cacao, which is dark chocolate. So that's very good for blood flow, but it also has polyphenols in it and all kinds of things. So these are kind of the indigenous wisdom. But then we have all of the other kind of entheogenic plants. So mushrooms, things like that are really good. Cannabis, which is, cannabis is now prescribed for female arousal disorder. I mean, there are a lot of people who they really feel in their we feel in our body when we ingest a little cannabis. And or vape it. I'm not necessarily don't like to roll a big blunt and smoke burned flower because it's hard on your lungs. I mean, I can tell my long-term dope smokers, they got a little rumbly lung thing, and I don't want that. But I like a clean vaporizer or flower vaporized. It can really get you in your body, and that helps you. It helps you let down, because one of the things that happens when you're stressed and your cortisol's high, your cortisol's spiked, and you can't be living in the world today and escape that. It's a part of our life. And so we need more mechanisms of action that calm us down and get us into our body and let us let go of those kinds of things. And I think that for many, many people, where they might have used to have had alcohol, now that we have wonderful products, and I'm going to send you the Lusty bundle of pleasures that I have. The Lusty bundle, it's at lustybundle.com, and it has 3 different things in it. The first thing it has is something called the Aphrodisiac, which is HHC, which is a hemp-derived THC compound, and some terpenes, which are the flavors of the flowers. And you just take a little puff and you get in your body and you get a little dreamier and a little more relaxed. It's just easier to drop in and connect. But it also comes with little edible gummies that have both libido botanicals and a little Delta 9 in it. And you could take those if you've got like an hour before lovemaking. And then there are these little capsules that are no cannabis at all, nothing from the hemp or cannabis plant. They're just libido botanicals, but they're all these wonderful mixture of libido botanicals and cordyceps, which is a mushroom that's very, very good for blood flow as well. It's a weird mushroom. It's a mushroom that sprouts out of the body of a dead insect. It's some freaky shit. And they've now started producing it in a vat so that they are growing the mycelial structures without needing to have a bunch of insects die and bodies sprout out, But that's where they originally cultivated it, was from this crazy mushroom that would like kill the host, it was like this, it was worse than a parasite. Wow. So there are some very interesting things. Some are psychoactive and some are not, and they're all beneficial. And it's funny because I took, what did I take the other day? I took just the capsule, and I had a date with my love, and we had sex for a couple of hours, just really enjoyed ourselves. Like, we started off making out, and then I was stroking him and he was playing with my boobs, and it was really nice. And then we wanted to do 69. A lot of people, they look at 69, they're like, oh, I don't want to do that. I can't even concentrate. And I'm like, well, tell me you suck without telling me you suck. Like, it just takes practice. Get on there. You just gotta get, like somebody's on the bottom, somebody's on the top. Except for my boyfriend, we flipped,
It's like, focus,
I
focus.
want to be on top.
Your focus. That's funny.
No. Then we were in Vegas, and I bent over the sofa and we looked out at the view while we did it doggy style. It was so much fun, and we just took our time. We took breaks. We snuggled. We shot the shit. We did whatever. Such a nice, languid. It was great. Hotel sex is so fun. It was languid, and it's so cute too, because when we got there, he pops open the suitcase. He's like, I got the fascinator, throws that down on the bed. I got the lubes. He stacks them up by the bed, I got the stack of hand towels right there. Got that going. Got the orange light bulb for the room light. Like that man, he knows how to set up the lover space. And when you set that nest up, and then you just relax into it, it's so nice. That's the kind of play we need to be doing more of.
I love that. And for those of you that are listening right now, if you didn't catch on, I want to ask a question and just correct me if I'm wrong. But you said, okay, so you said you made love for 2 hours, but then when you really explained the experience, you said you took breaks, you had conversation. Yeah. So lovemaking wasn't the pornography crap that you see, where it was just like an act, meaning it wasn't a sexual performance. It was
an experience.
A flow. I call it my dope flow sex date, because it's like you just enter into the moment and see what you feel like you want together. And then you do that thing and you rest. And I mean, when you come a lot like I do, I got to take breaks. I need some water. And I need, you just have to take a break. Sometimes you need to go wash your hands, whatever. And change the music, whatever.
You need halftime and referees. I mean, are we?
No, but I like the flow. Like, what do you feel like doing now? What do you feel like doing now? We did go from 69 him on top to 69 me on top, because I was like, that was so good. Let's try the other direction. It was so fun. Yeah, I mean, I like one of the things that I think makes me really fun to have sex with, and this is just because I know so many different things, because I've learned them and tried them and done so many things. I'm so comfortable, is that I love to have a lovemaking date. And when I land on the bed, I love to sit there with my partner and be like, what do you feel like doing? What sounds good? What are you in the mood for? What do you want? And he'll throw out a few ideas, and I'll throw out a few ideas. Now, the only thing is that pretty much whatever I want is what we do.
As it should be, right?
Except if he has some really good ideas, like I should give him a blowjob. Then we always do that. Because guys need to get one every time they ask, or 90% of the time. 90% of the time is a good ratio. Because if they ask you, then they'd really like to have that right now. That sounds good to them, And I just want to know if that's what he wants right now. I want to give that to him. I don't think it's a blowjob. I call it a blow vacation, because I'm the one getting the most pleasure out of that. No way he's getting as much pleasure as I am. And it's not because I'm bad at it. I mean, I just really have gotten myself to the point where it is pure, sexy, turn-on pleasure for me, where I'm having orgasms from it myself, because we can have throat-gasms. That's one of the 20 kinds. So that's not an ask. That's a give, as far as I'm concerned.
That's interesting. So instead of in our house from now on, I just want to, I just want to say, Snooks, that instead of playing Simon Says, we're going to say, it's going to be called Susan Says every time I ask for a blowjob.
Snooks is going to be like, Susan!
Like Susan said.
It's on
video. After a little practice, I'll send you, one of the books I'll send you is called The Blowjob Secret. And the secret of the blowjob is you get orgasms from it.
That is so funny. So
Yeah.
I want to ask. Okay, so you have what is the platinum rule, and why do you say that we should follow that rather than the golden rule when it comes to how we treat our partner?
Yeah. Well, this is right up the Gottman alley because this is relational. This is your relationship, not your sex life.
Okay.
There was a while where I tried to reach out in the relational space to find people who would be interested in having hot sex through marketing and things. But what I realized is most people aren't interested in having hot sex. Most people are totally triggered by it. They're shut down. They think they already know everything, or they've given up on it, or what have you. Like I spoke last week in Vegas for Shailene Johnson at her event called Camp Be More. Best audience I ever had. Best audience I ever had. I've spoken 100 times if I've spoken once. I love to speak from the stage. And these women were just so gung ho. But when I walked out, after they jumped up and went, yay, which was so nice for me. God, only 20 years it's taken me to get to this, right? But they, they were a little, like intimidated at first, but I said to them, you guys, look how there's like 20% of the audience is missing. So they are not here. They gave up on their sex life. You're here because you believe and you know that it can stay good and even get better as you age. This is like a midlife women's conference. It was all chicks in there. And they were all in there. And it was also a conference for women who wanted to know more about how to work out, longevity, nutrition. Like they were healthy women who were going to be badass bitches all the way through midlife and beyond. That is my kind of woman. And so when I walked out there, I said, look, there's 20% of you guys are gone. They're in their room or at the pool or whatever, because they gave up on their sex life. You did not. So I am talking to you and I'm going to tell you exactly the things that you need to know to have great sex that keeps getting better. So when I try to talk about relationship stuff, most people don't want to hear about what I'm really good at, which is sex. But so I wrote Relationship Magic about a decade ago. And what it really is it's technically it is called NLP, values elicitation. And NLP is the way that our bodies take in communication information. It's how our brains are actually wired and the way to talk to a person so that they understand what you're saying. It's effective communication, basically. And this Relationship Magic workbook, it teaches you how to understand what your top 4 most important relationship values are in your relationship. And then your partner can figure out theirs, because especially if you're in a male-female pair bond, what he wants out of that relationship is completely different than what she is seeking. And sometimes you'll have overlaps on some where it's like, okay, yeah. And what you do is you explain to your partner, this is what I need, and this is how you can give it to me. And often the way you figure out what it is that you want is, oh, I had a really shitty relationship and that person drove me crazy and they were not meeting my values. My values were not being met, or they were being trampled on. So the bad experiences give you as much information as as like the list of what you think you desire, or the really great parts of past relationships. What was that about? So it's very, very, it's like a really introspective little workbook. And what's cool about it is that basically we go around practicing the golden rule. Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. Well, that's all well and good, except if you're in a relationship and you're totally different people, likely even different genders. And so what you both want is completely different. So like my husband, his relationship values are, number 1, passion. Thank God I'm sexy now. I mean, it was not going well. But he loves, like, let me see you naked. Let's snuggle together. Let me rub something of yours. Will you give me a face rub? Will you? He likes to kiss me 23 times a day. He just walk by kisses, mwah, walk by kisses all the time. He loves to see me in lingerie. He loves to, see me get out of the shower and towel off. If I'm naked, I walk, and he's in the room, I walk out so he can look at my naked body. Like, he loves that stuff. That's his number one. My number one is security. I grew up in a very insecurely attached childhood, and I have trauma still to this day of things because I wasn't taken care of well. My parents tried their best. I don't have anything left that's negative about my parents. I understand what they were up against. They were babies themselves. But it left me with some scars. And my husband, when he was a little boy, his nickname his family gave him to give him shit was Super Safe. And I'm like, Super Safe, I found my man. He's going to keep me safe. So security is huge for me, but it manifests in weird little ways, which he totally understands how to manage.
Right.
And I think I married him for his nervous system. He's like, that fucker is so calm. I needed that. I needed to touch ground, right? And so when you start to understand, my number two though, freedom. Oh, baby, I want you to totally take care of me and let me do whatever I want to do. This is me. He's an introvert. He doesn't want to even go do shit, but I want to do everything. And so we found how it works for us. It became crystal clear how to navigate our relationship when I knew what his top 4 values were and he knew what my top 4 values were. I just started getting up every day and giving him the things he wants. One of which, by the way, is novelty and variety, or fun and adventure, all that. That's me. I'm literally the walking embodiment of fun and adventure. And I'm always getting invited to shit, coming up with shit. And I'm like, baby, do you want to go? And he's like, yeah, I'll go. He would never leave the house if I didn't drag him out here, make him drive me. So it's so cool when you get your relationship values, because then you're like, oh, that's why you do that thing. It so explains your partner, and it so explains you and all your crazy ass bullshit. And so it's really nice when you finally have that, because then you just get up every day and you're like, baby, I'm going to give you exactly what you want. And you're going to give me exactly what I want, and we're going to be happy.
Love it. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll send that to you. Also, for your listeners, you can buy that book from Amazon, that workbook from Amazon, but don't. It's $27 on Amazon. If you go to myrelationshipmagic.com, it's $9.97. Download it, print it out, take it. You can make as many copies as you want. You can give it to your friends to do. I mean, I know what my best friend's relationship values are, not just my husband. I know what my daughters are.
Right.
I know these things. It's really good to help you love anybody well.
I'll tell you what, you've been blessing our audience, and we thank you so much. And
thank you.
How can we give back to you? So everyone that's listening, I guarantee everyone's like, okay, so how do I learn more about Susan? Where can they go to learn more about you, but also support and get a hold of those 34 books that you've written?
Yeah. The best place to find me, the best place to start is betterlover.com. I have a newsletter that I send out twice a week. And if you have any questions for me, you can reply to any newsletter that goes out. And I personally get those. My care team doesn't. And so you can ask me anything. It doesn't have to be about what the newsletter is about. That's at betterlover.com. And then a lot of people like Instagram. They like to follow you on Instagram or whatever. That's my name. And it's all smooshed together. It's Susan Bratton, SUSAN. Bratton, Bratton, like the brat that weighs a ton. So that's 2 good ways to find me.
That's perfect. Well, you know what? Parting words. Is there anything that if you wanted them to walk away when they get out of their car, get off the treadmill, whatever it is they're doing right now, and you wanted there to be a lingering thought or something they're going to walk away with, what would that one thing be?
I wonder what's on my sex life bucket list.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, once again, thank you for sharing time with us again.
I loved it. Got even better the second time.
I had a lot of fun on this one. I think this was really great, and it's going to impart a lot of value to the crowd. Hey, everyone, if you know someone that can benefit from this conversation with Susan, not somebody that says, "Oh, their love life sucks, I need to send this over to them." Not that. Somebody that you care about. That there's a couple that you hang out with, and you know what, ladies, you're having conversations with your girlfriends about certain things that we talked about today. Fellas, there's some guys out there that you've had conversations with that you've talked about turning the corner in one way or the other. Share this episode with them, and let's introduce our communities to Susan Bratton and the things that she's offering to all of us to help us all elevate our love lives.
Right. Don't be shamed. Don't be embarrassed. That's why she's here, to talk about the things that people don't talk about. That is on their mind, though, So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So do all that. Go to wherever you listen to the podcast right now. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, and keep coming back so we can introduce you to more people like Susan and put you in front of some of these other couples that have amazing stories as well, just like you.
Right.
Until the next time.
Be blessed.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Married into Crazy podcast with Snooks and Lovey. Please like, subscribe to, and review the show wherever you access it, and tell a friend about us. Visit marriedintocrazy.com and see how Snooks and Lovey can bless your marriage directly.